Earlier this hour, we spoke with Facebook's co-founder Chris Hughes on privacy calls for a breakup of the tech giant.
The root cause is the fact that it is unaccountable, that there is no real competition in social networking. And so when users are outraged about election scandals or a privacy scandal, they have nowhere else to go.
Okay, joining us right now is Chris Kelly, Facebook's former chief privacy officer. Do you think there's no accountability?
No, there's absolutely accountability. You have a marketplace that's working every day. That the war for internet attention goes on in all sorts of different ways, and I just don't understand the argument that there's no accountability.
The argument is that this is a company that is fully controlled by one human being.
Right.
It has a board, but ultimately everything lands at the feet of one individual.
Right.
And given the power and influence of that company, whether that's a problem.
And so I think you could say it's a problem, but can you say that it's an antitrust problem? Bigness alone is not the province of the antitrust laws. It's about monopolization. It's about monopoly maintenance. It's about all these different things.
So let me ask you about that. When you think about the development and huge growth of Facebook and some of the acquisitions, whether it's Instagram, WhatsApp, et cetera, do you look at the maintenance of the monopoly?
Well,
to the degree you want to call it a monopoly, I don't know if you're calling it a monopoly,
no,
but
I'm not.
if you were, the maintenance of it or the creation of it, is there anything within that development that you think broke the law? Because that ultimately, from an antitrust perspective, is what's at issue.
So there were antitrust reviews of all of those acquisitions. There always are. There's Hart-Scott-Rodino, there's Clayton Act review, there's all these different things that go into it. So the question's sort of been asked and answered about that, and the acquisitions passed. I mean, Instagram was a very small company. WhatsApp was growing rapidly, but from a revenue perspective, they were sort of nowhere. And so Facebook was willing to invest in that over time to think about what the future might look like. That's the kind of behavior that we want to encourage generally. I mean, the classic statement about antitrust law is that it protects competition, not competitors. And it's hard to see how this is protecting competition.
What about the argument that with an installed base of 2.5 billion users, Facebook is uniquely able to take one of these nascent businesses and ideas with no revenue and essentially scale it instantly like nobody else could?
No, if that's the case, again, if you were to even get to an argument where in an defined antitrust market that they have a monopoly, actually using that for good is also not against the antitrust laws.
I don't disagree with you at all, but let me ask you a separate question. One of the things that Mark is trying to do right now is to integrate all of these businesses in a much more meaningful way than they were before, meaning WhatsApp, Instagram, all on the Blue or the Facebook platform, right? From a privacy perspective, does that create more risk? I have to assume the answer is yes.
So, look, one of the things I talked about the last time I was on is that we've flipped from this, sort of default unrecorded world to a much more recorded world. That's actually not a Facebook problem. That's an internet problem. That's a smartphone in your pocket that's a surveillance device that is with you all times, is the extension of your brain.
Does it have to be a surveillance device? This is where we were talking about actually the role of Apple in the operating system and the role of Google in the operating system. Does it have to be a surveillance device?
So this is the thing, is that people want it to be a surveillance device, and they want the data used for their own benefit. I mean, Apple is collecting health data on the watch. I've got my Apple Watch here, and I've got my iPhone, and those both are pretty amazing devices that do amazing things that allow us all to live our lives more effectively and efficiently. The data is being recorded and tracked, and look, the fact that companies are competing on privacy, I think, is a really good thing right now. But the idea that the old perception that some people had about privacy, where you actually have no data recorded in any circumstances, went away a long time ago. And that, and that was it was questionable whether that ever really existed.
If you have to text or communicate with somebody in a secure manner, what do you use? You personally?
I use WhatsApp. I use Facebook Messenger. I use a number of. I use iMessage.
But you're not on Signal, for example?
No, I'm on Signal.
You're on Signal?
Yeah.
With disappearing messages?
I've got disappearing messages in a number of different platforms. I think there's going to be great competition around all of those things. The ephemerality question and the permanency of data question are forces that should be competed on.
Separately, what do you know or think about Facebook and its new cryptocurrency currency effort?
I think it's an exciting, it's an exciting experimentation with blockchain and with the way that it's going to work, and we'll see what happens. There's amazing possibilities here.
Are you a Bitcoin owner?
I am not.
You're not a Bitcoin
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay.